MP for Wellingborough. Mr Bone, thank you very much for joining us this evening. Your reaction when you first heard about Iain Duncan Smith's decision to resign?
Well, in a way, I wasn't surprised, because Iain's always been a man of principle and conviction, and he only took on the job, work and pensions, because he passionately believed in social justice, and he was doing a tremendous job in reforming it. But it seems as though the Chancellor took away what he wanted to do by making these cuts, and I'm not surprised that Iain's done this, but it will be, of course, a great hole in the government to be filled.
But we're hearing via our political editor, Laura Koonsberg, who's spoken to a senior government source, who says this policy regarding the disability benefits, which the government is now reassessing, was put together not just by the Treasury, but by Iain Duncan Smith's department too. So doesn't it seem peculiar to you that this evening he's decided to go?
Not really. I think, as your report said, this has been bubbling up clearly for a long time. And you'll remember, was it a couple of years ago, there was a row when the Prime Minister tried to move Iain Duncan Smith from his role, and he said, well, basically, if you remove me, you'll have to fire me. So he's always been someone who passionately believes in what he was doing. And one, as a Conservative backbencher, I felt very reassured that we had him in charge. And I think actually people on the other side of the aisle, the Labour and Liberal members, also felt reassured that, whatever they thought about the detail, his passion for getting fairness into the system was clear for everyone to see. And, this is, it's a serious resignation. It's bad news for government. But, I would never expect Iain Duncan Smith not to put the country first, and he clearly has.
But surely, if he has a fit of conscience about this, he might be rethinking some of the other cuts he's made, won't he?
Well, I think one of the strange issues that we sort of forget to talk about in this is that the changes to PIP, 1.3 billion this year, is less than 1/10 of what we pay in our subscription to the European Union each year. So if a country votes to come out of the European Union on the 23rd of June, there'll be £15.6 billion, which we could use to look after the less able, even have tax cuts and reduce the deficit. So this is all tied in, I think, with the great debate that's going on at the moment.
Yes, indeed, and we haven't got time, sadly, to go into those, other than the people who say staying in gives us access to markets and partnerships that we would have to renegotiate, and they would bring uncertainty.
Those are other issues, but there's no question that it costs £15.6 billion, and we wouldn't have to make cuts that have been suggested in the budget if we weren't in the European Union. And clearly, Iain Duncan Smith is also campaigning to come out of the EU. So there is some overlap there, and I just think that the government really does have to rethink some of these things.
How widely, then, within the party, are these views held? It can't just be Iain Duncan Smith, can it? The man who's presided over so many of these incredible reforms to our welfare system. What divisions does it point to within the Conservative Party over what the Treasury, what George Osborne is trying to push through?
Well, there is no doubt at the moment, as you know, the party's significantly divided on the European Union, which ties into this argument about, do you need to have all these cuts at the same time as giving over £15 billion to the European Union? I mean, that is a huge division within the party, and we won't know for a few weeks yet which part of the party is right on that. But it would seem to me that you've got to look at it through the prism of what is the economic problems that we face at the moment, and where's the money going? We are spending more and more money on the EU and less money on looking after poorer people, so on disabled people. So that is a huge question for our democracy, which will, thankfully we're going to decide upon on 23rd June.
Peter Bone, Conservative MP for Wellingborough, thank you very much for joining us.
You didn't frankly have the balls to put country before party.